Hi everyone. This is the voice behind the noise. And I am Myron. Recently, the US Senate passed the American Competes Act by a vote of 68 to 28 on March 28. What kind of act is this? Why we have called it Pro-Taiwan Act? Continue watching and you will find out. Interestingly, although the act nominally claims to enhance the competitiveness of the United States, in fact, the main purpose is to confront China. The entire act is more than 2,300 pages long, and the main content includes competing with mainland China in the field of chips, but it also creates trouble for mainland China on the Taiwan issue. The United States still does not give up on destroying China's territorial integrity and is very interested in interfering in China's internal affairs. There are several aspects to look at. The first is technical containment, using coercion and inducement to force companies such as ASML to prohibit the provision of high-end equipment for the production of chips to China. However, a series of manipulations by the US government on Taiwan is the focus of our video today. The United States uses hegemonic means to integrate the semiconductor supply market, such as requiring semiconductor manufacturers in other countries to submit core business secrets to the United States to further contain China. And this involves Taiwan. This US Competes Act has also attracted the attention of some Taiwanese media, mainly calling it a Pro-Taiwan Act. For example, the act claims to promote military, cultural, and even diplomatic exchanges between the United States and Taiwan, support arms sales to Taiwan, and establish the so-called US-Taiwan Cultural Exchange Foundation. In fact, this act can be summarized into two parts in terms of Taiwan-related content. One part is to cooperate with the Taiwan authorities in political manipulation. So after all this, will such act work, and where is it leading to for Taiwan, China, mainland China, and the US? We can sure give an absolute answer that it is out of the question to be working theoretically. Let's have a look at another example related to Taiwan problem. A report recently published by American scholars Gracie Lai and Zhuang Wanhua attacked UNGA Resolution 2758, saying that the resolution did not resolve Taiwan's so-called status issue, questioned the One China principle, and advocated that the international community should allow Taiwan to participate in international organizations. But is that so? The first thing to note is that this report is explicitly sponsored by the DPP authorities. The entire report is full of cliches about the Taiwan independence. Remarks of the DPP authorities and the Cairo Declaration and Potsdam Proclamation are not mentioned when discussing the One China principle. Therefore, it is questionable whether the relevant American scholars have basic common sense. UNGA Resolution 2758 resolved the issue of China's representation in the United Nations politically, legally, and procedurally, on the premise that there is one China and Taiwan is a part of China. The relevant historical facts are very clear. Anyone who distorts UNGA Resolution 2758 dare not mention the Cairo Declaration and the Potsdam Proclamation. The reason is that they dare not face up to the real status quo of the Taiwan problem and the core content, one China, that is, there is only one China in the world and Taiwan is one part of China. Part of the government of the People's Republic of China is the only legitimate government representing China. And this is how the theoretical possibility is excluded. But in reality such thing likewise won't work. Because the result can be, unfortunately, unlike what the US government has pinned it, pretty fatal. There are mainly 2 points to have a look at. The first is that Taiwan has to purchase armaments from the United States, but will in place of the US undertake nearly all the consequences. The Taiwan authorities must clearly recognize that it is impossible to fill the gap in military strength between the two sides of the Taiwan Strait through arms purchases. Therefore, the Taiwan authorities wantonly purchase weapons and equipment from the United States is a waste of money. The second harm is that this act will further aggravate cross-strait tensions. The frequent collusion between the US and Taiwan authorities has created difficulties in the process of peaceful reunification of the mainland, which will undoubtedly worsen the situation in the Taiwan Strait. If the US government and the Taiwan authorities consume too much patience from the mainland, the situation in the Taiwan Strait will change dramatically, and the mainland will inevitably take decisive measures. The United States is using the Taiwan authorities as its own pawn. On the one hand, it uses the Taiwan authorities' pro-US stance to contain the mainland, and on the other hand, it uses the Taiwan authorities to extract the residual value of the Taiwan region. The actions of the Taiwan authorities are completely contrary to Taiwan's overall interests. At last, what will this act lead to? As is already proven by history, China's determination to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity. Anyone who wants to violate it will not get away with it. Although there are essential differences between the Taiwan issue and the Ukraine issue, the two should not be compared. There is something in common between the two. Any serious situation is caused by the accumulation of problems over many years. The Ukrainian issue has come to this day, and it is an outbreak of contradictions accumulated over the years. The root is the security issue in Europe. The unrestricted eastward expansion of NATO deserves reflection. Faced with the situation in Ukraine today, the US side not only does not reflect on and review its own responsibilities, but also makes efforts to cool the situation and promote peace talks. While European countries paid the price for the refugees and economic turmoil caused by the war, America's big arms dealers and oil and gas companies made a lot of money. I think the world still understands that there are more and more people, so fewer and fewer people will be deceived by the United States again. Okay, that's all for today. See you in the next video.